Hello.
Hey, there you are.
I'm back.
Oh,
Picked the wrong mic.
Hey, it's got the right microphone now.
I'm back.
Hey.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah, you're ready to go. Okay. Okay. I
right.
took a lot of notes.
Did you? I took none.
Watch this. Hold up. I will show you
I'm
the
really
notes
glad.
I took. I got to open it here. Not that. Where is it?
I'm glad because I don't feel like I'm going to have a lot to contribite.
Ready for this? I'll just scroll through the notes.
No way.
I'm not lying.
Wow.
That's a lot of notes. It's the
Wow.
most notes I've ever taken. We're talking about,
You really thought this through.
yeah, an album that is not a Papa Punk. Normally we talk about the Papa Punk albums.
Normally,
This is not a Papa Punk.
we went a little harder.
There used to be a way to stick it to the man. It was called rock and roll. Guess what? Oh no. The man ruined that too with a little thing called MTV.
Don't talk to me about rock and roll. I'm out there in the clubs and on the streets and I'm living it. I am rock and roll.
Did I listen to pop music because I was miserable? Or was I miserable because I listened to pop music?
Yeah.
Little
this
heavier.
is The Parallel and their album Weaver. And
Not Weezer.
not Weezer. Not Weezer. Like Jordan's like, we're reviewing Weezer?
Yeah, all right.
They do have a new album coming out, the Black Album.
Do they?
They've gone back to colors.
Oh, gosh.
You know, it's a good sign, although the first couple singles are okay. Anyway, yeah, we're talking about the Parallel Weaver. First things first, they're Canadian.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know why that surprises
I
me.
don't know.
I-
Okay, here's the weird thing. They're Canadian, used to be signed to an Australian label. They actually used to share labels with a little band called Between You and Me. Like
What?
early on. Yeah, Dreambound is what they
Wow.
were on. They're now on In Vogue Records, which is how I heard about this because I think either I follow In Vogue on like Instagram or whatever, or it was an ad that popped up and I'm like, what's this? And so I kind of quickly looked and added it. Based on one song, which is a good representation of what the album is, but also not entirely. So the song that I first heard was Chimera, which I was not sure how to say that because,
Chimera?
yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
because my hockey brain goes, oh, is this a song about Jason Chimera?
Yeah.
No, it's
An
Chimera.
ode to
An
Jason
ode
Chimera.
to Jason Chimera. This would make this album very different if they were just odes to hockey players.
Yeah.
But Chimera, and it's a good representation, that song, of everything they do.
Yeah, because
bits.
This was going to be kind of my one note I was going to say on
The
this.
one
is,
note he took.
Is this, all the songs sound very similar to me. So
Kind
when you say that is a good representation of the whole album, I would
Yeah.
agree. I would also agree in the sense that every song is a good representation of the entire album.
Sort of. I think some songs, though, they'll just be heavy, right, and screaming.
Which is my preference.
Right. And then there's some songs where they'll introduce some more melodies and kind of like open space guitars, introducing the delays and kind of like bigger sounds,
Not a fan of that.
which is so weird.
Not
I
a
don't
fan of
understand
that.
how you can, like,
Not
I
a
can
fan.
understand being like, okay, I don't like when it's like all this, that's fine. But like when an album like this, a band like this, like all of a sudden just opens up, like that's when I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
because they've done something different from just yelling at me for 45 minutes.
Yeah,
or half an
see,
hour.
we're opposite. See, I the only band that does that I enjoy is August Burns Red because
Right.
they do it in a way that's still like intriguing to me.
Yeah, and see, I wouldn't say they do that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, maybe to an extent a little bit, but
so you don't see it that way, but like for me, like when a lot of metal artists lose me when they do this, where it just kind of like it's heavy. I like the breakdowns, and then it just kind of like slows, and then it's like guitar feedback and weird sounds, and it's just kind of slows down. I don't
that's
like
not
that.
what I'm describing.
At that point, it just loses me entirely. Where it's like
That's not what I'm describing. Like when, say for instance, I was just thinking of it like an apt description for this, and let's say you're kind of like heavy, yelling, aggressive, is some guy beating on a wall, right? And he's
Okay.
like, just like whether it's with a hammer or whatever, he's just beating on a wall and he's trying to escape, and then when he breaks through. And the music, like, I'm not saying like where it, like cuts out and like the guitar feedback and strange sounds. I'm talking about when it's like hits like almost like maybe a halftime chorus and they're singing and the instruments just open up and they're playing big chords, big sounds. It just reminds me of someone like breaking through something.
Yeah.
And so which I think is actually kind of an apt description for what's happening lyrically on this album. This is what intrigued me the most, because listening to this band initially, I was kind of like, there are moments where I was like, oh, I really like this, but there's a lot of dissonant notes, dissonant guitar chords on here that I'm like, not necessarily my thing, where they'll get into like, it's almost like a little mathy, right? Like where they're hitting like not, they almost sound like, I've kind of like, when I picture them in my brain, I describe them as either like dirty chords or dirty notes, where they're just like, they don't fit, they're not nice and clean. But sometimes I'm okay with that. There are some songs on here where they kind of go back to it a lot. And I'm like, okay, it gets a little spastic for me.
Yeah, which I don't enjoy.
Yeah. And so that was kind of an initial hurdle I had to get over with this record, was when they were doing some of that. I was going to ask, but do you even gent, bro?
Yeah.
Because there's definitely some, and Chimera is a prime example of where they're like sampling everything.
Yeah.
Where they even bring that in their breakdown a little bit, right?
I don't mind a little bit of gent.
No, I don't mind.
A little
it.
taste is fine.
Yeah,
a little
it's
here
fine.
and there.
Yeah, and I definitely liked the aspect. I called it dive bomb guitars, which isn't accurate, because dive bombing on a guitar is more like in a solo where someone hits a note and then like gets on their whammy bar or whatever and just like drops the tension on the right.
Yeah.
But they have this thing where, and I mean, this is probably just my inexperience with, they call themselves a progressive metalcore band, but like my inexperience with subgenres of metal and whatever. But the whole, like when some of the breakdowns, they get really low and heavy. And then just this like sound, I'm not even sure if they're doing it with like a whammy bar, but it's like, right?
Yeah,
It's just
I
like
don't
this
know,
like crazy stuff where they hit some pretty low notes where I'm like, oh, I kind of like that. But what sold me finally on this record was something that initially turned me off from this record.
Oh, what was that?
Lyrics.
No.
And when I showed you those notes that I had taken,
Yes. Extensive.
yeah, I think it works out to I think it's like 3 pages of notes, because I went through every song and I started looking at the lyrics, and there's an awful lot of references to figures in Greek mythology. So Chimera was the first one where I was like, what does that even mean? Right. And they referenced Chimera in a song before that. And I was like, what is that? Like, I've never heard this word before. And because I'm not overly familiar with Greek mythology outside of some, Zeus and Icarus, who we get to later. But, like, so I was like, what? So I looked it up. I was like, oh, okay, it's a figure in Greek mythology. And then there's like, in Chimera, they reference Thanos, which I was like, is that just a comic book character?
Yeah.
No, it's from Greek mythology, right? So there's all this stuff. And the kind of like idea I got is what, whether the singer is struggling with this, like when writing these lyrics, or if he's just chosen to create a character and go through this, is the general sort of, I guess, idea I got is the protagonist, the writer, whatever, feels like he's just stuck. He wants to live for more. He wants to kind of like, whether it's chasing down dreams or just chasing down, like self-improvement, living for more than just what he's living for in this moment. And then he uses different, like I said, figures in Greek mythology. And there's even some psychology in here with some Freudian discussion in the song, I think, Ego Death, I think is the name of it. Is that? Yeah, Ego Death, the 9th track. And so just like feeling stuck in this particular place in life and wanting to get past that. And there's even a song called Time Tunnel, I think, where he talks, Time Tunnel, where he talks specifically about feeling like he's just, the note I took for this was like, this is the movie Groundhog Day in a song, because he just feels like he's doing this, living the same thing over and over again. But as the story goes on, or as his kind of like realization goes on through the record, he realizes that like time is struggling against him. Like he wants time to stop, but he also wants it to keep moving, because like he feels like if time stops, he's going to be living in this place forever. But if time doesn't stop, he feels like he's going to run out of time and never get to, like where he just is worried that time's going to pass and he's going to stay here sort of deal, right?
Okay. Well, I mean, wow, you really looked into these lyrics a lot more than
Well, and that's
me.
only a little bit of it because, like, I mentioned Icarus. Have you heard the story of Icarus?
You flew too close to the sun.
Yeah, with the wax wings, right? And so the song "Wax Wings" is clearly about that. When as I was like working through, I was like, man, there's a lot of Greek mythology. And then as I got to "Wax Wings," I was like, is this gonna be about Icarus? I'm like, this is the only story I know of all of this, right? And so yeah, but I take that song as like his kind of like fear of, if I actually step outside of my comfort zone, or if I actually step outside of what I know and where I'm living, am I just going to come plummeting back to the earth? You know, like just like that inner struggle of just going, well, I mean, this is where I am, and yeah, and I mean, I can kind of relate to this and going like, this is where I am, and yeah, I would love to live for so much more, or you know, like take risk, but at the same point, I'm comfortable here.
Yeah.
Right. And like that's I thought it was really interesting in looking at this record, because initially some of the lyrics I was like, without looking into them, I was like, whatever. Right. It just sounds like they're trying to be deep for the sake of being deep.
Which I often find metal bands like this are. It almost always seems like, I don't know what the word is, mythical, or you know, something. There's always some like really broad thing that just goes over my head.
Which is what I was initially like looking at it, kind of going, okay, like are they writing something that's, you know, supposed to be like you said, like mythical, or a lot of times, you know, there's a lot of metal albums where they like just create stories or characters that are in a different world, in a different place, sort of thing. I'm like, is this what we're getting into here? Which it's not. When I looked into it, I was like, yeah, okay, he's obviously done a fair amount of reading on Greek mythology, and I'm curious if that's just like something that he finds a general interest in, or if he was like, this would be cool, because this is like their debut full length, right? So if he's like, I want to make a splash, and lyrically this is what I'm going to go for. And initially, yeah, when I first looked at it, I was kind of like, but as you know, as I looked into these songs, the more and more interested I kind of got into what they were trying to, you know, I can't say I didn't find anything online that legitimately said, yeah, this is a, you know, A to B kind of story laid out sort of thing. Right. I don't know if that's the case, or if it's just like he is kind of going through something in life and was just seeing himself in these different Greek mythological, you know, beings or whatever, characters. And I thought, that's kind of neat. Like it's different from what I normally would go out of my way to listen to, and what I'm normally attracted to lyrically.
Well, and the nice thing is, I think this is why you and I like a little bit of metal. Like, I think primarily we focus on a lot of pop punk genre, subgenre bands. Yeah. And that they tend to mostly be about girls, or, you know, parties or whatever,
tough
right?
Suburban life.
Exactly, right? Like those themes are always almost pretty consistent. But then you jump over to this, and it's like, it is so different. You're not going to hear a pop punk song about Greek mythology.
Hey, I mean, you might. But
you
it's
might
definitely
now.
A lot less likely,
I mean, somebody's gonna pull an example
out,
now.
Oh,
but,
guys, by the way,
But it's just kind of nice. It's a little different. For me, I like it. I like the fast, heavy. Yeah. I like the breakdowns. Yeah. I just the only issue I have is when it just slows down a little too much, and it goes into those. You like those big chords and those big moments. I don't like that. I think let's just keep doing the heavy stuff, pedal to the metal. That's my preference. But overall, it's a good album.
It's funny.
It's a good listen. Nice little break.
I like that I found like with this record, it did a bunch of different little things that kind of kept my interest, because you talk about like the pedal to the metal sort of thing, and that was my complaint with Phantom Anthem by August Burns Red.
Right.
Was I just felt like it was, for the most part, there were bits and pieces that I could kind of pick out, but for the most part, it was just like they start it and then they don't stop until the end. And I'm kind of like, I like a little variety. I can understand a point where it's like, I don't like, because I mean, I've often complained about this where bands release albums and it's like every song sounds like it's from a different album. I'm like, I don't like that. Yeah. I like cohesion and consistency, but I like there to also be, you know, kind of ups and downs with it, which is one thing I liked about Sister Cities from the Wonder Years this year, is that I felt like they're more and more introducing dynamic and, you know, ups and downs and whatever. I still really like going back to Greatest Generation and their older records and stuff like that, and hearing where they're a little more just straightforward pop punk, sort of stuff, right? Like it might feel weird if you had The Greatest Generation was half of what The Greatest Generation is, then half of Sister Cities. Like that vibe might feel weird, but they kind of progressed towards where they're at. So that's one thing I really like about this album, though, by The Parallel, is that I really feel like they put those pieces together, and they did it in a way that as soon as I would start getting annoyed or bored of something, they would change it.
Yeah.
And they would change it not where, because there is some music too that changes it where all of a sudden you're like, this is a completely different direction. I don't know what's happening. I feel like it all flows well enough. And there were definitely like some standout tracks on this record for me. It's funny because, I mean, Chimera is one. It's kind of like the first one early in the album that jumps out to me, and it's the 4th track. But then it gets to like later in the album, all of a sudden I'm like, ooh, this song, like Gloom, Wanderlust, Ego Death, Morai, which is one I could understand you not liking. But it's also only like a minute and 40 seconds or something like that. Wax Wings was another one. And Oracle I thought was an interesting finisher. I like lyrically what the finish is because it's kind of like a self-realization sort of thing. Like he's like, okay, gaining wisdom through all of this. But musically, it kind of left me wanting a little bit more. Not being like, oh, I want to listen to the record again sort of vibe, but more just like, oh, I wish they did more with that song. And it's kind of long, and it just didn't really do, I think, what I expected. Maybe it just didn't jump out. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was funny because there was a line on here. I literally said something like, where is it? Oh, yeah, okay. So I'd taken a note for the song Encryption or Encrypt Ion. I don't get the stylization on that.
Yeah, I don't know how to read that.
But so I had basically taken a note how I was like, this is where all of a sudden I had the realization, because I was like, it's weird how like lyrics on one song can be so engaging and then the next I'm just like, because that song I was very much, when I first looked at it, like, But then I was like, enjoy the fact that I'm too lazy to really break down the lyrics. So I just shrug them off as lackluster, but then they include these lines. And I will not pretend to shift, grow, or comprehend the things I'll never know. And I was like, oh, I'm not even pretending to comprehend.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's just, I'm not even taking the time. And then, you know, then Chimera comes up and I'm like,
Irony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I literally under that it says, oh, the irony.
Yeah.
But yeah, then Chimera comes up and that's where I really kind of started to look in further into the lyrics and go, okay, what are we talking about? Because of the Greek mythology. But this is Monochrome, I think, is where he kind of lays it out. He says, if I could change one thing, try to comprehend the kind of people we've become. Fleeting passion, dormant hearts, ceasing perseverance that we feel we've lost from the start. And I'm like, yeah, that sums up lyrically what he's struggling with over the entire album, and he does it very early on. And I was quite, I don't know if I'd say blown away, but it definitely piqued my interest when I started. Like, this is the first time in some time where I was literally like, reading lyrics, listening to music, and then had like other tabs open, Googling.
Yeah.
Like, oh, who's this? What is this about? Like, you know, all of a sudden assuming, I'm assuming this name that he just dropped there is another, you know, Greek mythology figure. So what are they about? And they're going, oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
What is this person? Oh, okay, interesting. Right. So.
Yeah, they're deeper lyrics.
Yeah.
Kind of like a 21 Pilot almost concept from start to finish.
Yeah, a little bit. Definitely, like 21 Pilots, they definitely did more, I would say, kind of like character songs and looking, like on Trench specifically, and looking at, you know, like, again, like, you know, talking about, you know, metal bands that kind of create worlds and stories. Obviously, 21 Pilots isn't a metal band, but like they created a world and a story, and they've been doing so for a little while now, which is intriguing. So, I mean, yeah, kind of like taking you somewhere else. You could obviously, with, I think, you know, like the references to Greek mythology and just how atmospheric their music can sound at times, and even the artwork. When you look at the artwork, I don't know what it is exactly. Is it like?
It's like 3 hooded people.
No, what are you talking about?
Weaver, the Parallel.
3 hooded people.
3 hooded people.
What does your cover art look like?
That.
Where do you see 3 hooded people?
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Take a close look.
1, 2, 3. Okay, show me again.
That's 1 person, 2, and then 3 behind this beam of light.
Oh yeah, maybe. I
What do you mean maybe? That's what it's 3 hooded people. It's very clear.
I literally, I don't know if it's clear or not. Like, I mean, I can sort of see that, but I saw it almost more as like a beam of light, like shooting through the globe.
Those are 3 hooded people and a beam of light.
And then clouds.
Yeah.
Definitely clouds. Can we agree on the clouds?
Yes. For anyone listening, go look at the album and you will see 3 hooded people.
Yeah, I mean, I could sort of see it.
Is this one of those things where you just like looked at it the wrong way this whole time? And then...
No, because I'm like you describing. I'm like looking at it, going. I mean, okay, I guess I can sort of buy into that, but I don't know.
1, 2, 3.
I want to know why it's called Weaver too. I want to figure that stuff out, but
because they're weaving the Greek story together, man.
Oh yeah, maybe they're 3 hooded people. When I zoom in,
it's not a maybe; it's a guarantee.
It's so weird.
But what does it mean?
Yeah,
what does it mean?
Yeah. Well, and so here's my guess. Actually, now that you point that out, I'm just going to look something up here so I can read it.
3. What significance does 3 hooded people have in
that's not what I'm
any
looking for.
Greek mythology?
Yeah, no, it's now I got to figure it out. I got to go back to my notes because there was a Greek mythological figure that was like broken down into 3. By the way, chimera is a thing that is hoped for or wished for, but in fact is illusory or impossible to achieve. In case you were wondering,
kind of reflects Jason Chimera's career, eh?
I like that you just
for any hockey fans out there.
Oh man, where do we go here? There was a song, and it made me Google. By the way, Wanderlust is a re-recording of a single that they released, and it sounds so much better. Why? Why can't I find this now?
I don't know, man.
I'm gonna have to
but
edit this. Oh, and I said Thanos earlier. It was Kronos, not Thanos. That was the other. Oh, Morai, also known as the Fates. Okay, so if I look up Morai, this is super engaging listening right now.
We're on this ride with you.
As the Fates were the white-robed incarnations of destiny. I want to see where this breaks this down. So I'm going to read this from Wikipedia. In ancient Greek religion and mythology, the Morai were the white-robed incarnations of destiny. Their Roman equivalents was the Parcae. Where does it? Their number became fixed at 3.
There you go.
Clotho, the spinner, Lachesis, the allotter, and Atropos, literally unturnable, but metaphorically inflexible or inevitable, i.e. death. I think now looking at that, you have a much larger screen than me.
I do have a bigger...
Because like this is what I'm looking at.
I have a bigger phone, but I still see 3 hooded people.
Well, when you pointed out, but like when I was looking, that's interesting. But yeah, there's like 3 hooded people.
Yeah.
I did not see that.
Well, I'm glad I could bring this to your attention.
Well, it's great.
Yeah.
It's great. But now what would you have thought it meant?
I would not have... I did not put any thought behind it. That's the thing, because I didn't even really look at the lyrics.
Yeah.
I was just listening to the music.
And,
As I often do. I don't really...
Right.
I'm not a lyrics guy.
And by the way, where can I find... I want to find where... there was another website I was looking at. It wasn't the Wikipedia page that described... Oh, I think it's here. Because I think... because the individuals were Clotho, the spinner who spun the thread of life. So I'm just wondering if that's where they get Weaver. From. Which is interesting.
We cracked it.
Because that's they only reference that on Morai, which is like a short song towards the end of the album. But
makes sense.
Yeah. So, okay. Now, between this and Light Years Afterlife, what are you going with?
Light Years, yeah.
Yeah, still.
By a large margin. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Because, I mean, this album was a nice change up for me in the sense that Light Years is so straightforward. So it was nice like to kind of go and look at something a little bit different. But I think I will also, like, I would definitely listen to Light Years kind of on the more regular basis. But I ended up really liking this record more so than I'd anticipated. Like when I heard Chimera the first time, I was like, oh, this is neat. Mm-hmm. And then when I first started listening to the record, I was kind of like, there's a lot more like low kind of growling, like doom sort of stuff going on.
Yeah.
I mean, again, subgenres of metal, I'm not even sure what some of these, but as I got into it more and the melodies kind of started coming out a little bit more and the more spacious guitars, which you don't like.
I don't like it.
Yeah, that's fine. Do you like Angels and Airwaves?
I love Angels and Airwaves.
Yeah, they have spacey guitars.
It's different.
It's literally
Totally
not,
different.
The only thing that's different is that it's written in a major key and not metal.
Yeah, maybe that's the difference.
Because it's the same concept. And that's what I love about Angels and Airwaves is when they hit those big open choruses and whatever, like it breaks open. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah,
this
I
is
do.
great.
I do really like Angels and Airwaves, who are putting out a new album, by the way.
Oh, great. Tom DeLonge is also developing a TV show, a sci-fi show
TBS.
for TBS.
Yeah, I saw that. Strange Times.
Yeah, all right. Anyway, that's going to do it. So we're going to hang on to Light Years, but if you're looking for something a little heavier, a little different, and you want to look into some stuff, why not give the Parallel Weaver a shot? Some Toronto boys. Oh, I also wanted to say 4-piece band. It's only 4 of them.
Wow.
No bass player.
Be better if it was 3. It would work better if it was
So
3.
impressive. No bass player. So it's drummer, 2 guitar players, and a vocalist.
Wow.
And I mean, I think all of their instrumentalists also have different vocal duties because the variation of screams and different singing on here it's impeccable. Anyway, that's going to do it for this time. So make sure you go find us wherever you find us. Facebook, you can find Music to My Peers, facebook.com/Music to My Peers podcast. You can also find us on Instagram at David to My Peers and at Jordan to My Peers. It exists. He hasn't posted a thing.
Maybe I'll post this album cover and just
There you
say
go.
there's 3.
Look, it's
people
3
on
hooded
it.
dudes. Maybe they're not dudes. I don't know. Where else?
Don't assume.
Yeah,
that.
where else are we? musicpeers.blogspot.com is where you can find all of our episodes and a place if you want to. You can also chat on Facebook, obviously. But go follow us wherever you're listening to this. Make sure you subscribe, leave a rating, review, all that good stuff. Help us get into help us get into some peers' ears. Know what I'm saying? Peers' ears.
That was excellent.
Yeah. All right. That's it. So bye.
Goodbye.